Hello everyone. This is my second one-take video. This one is on Tristram Shandy. However, this is my fourth take. The first time I got about 6 minutes in and it crashed. The second time I got done and it wouldn't process. The third time I got about 10 minutes in and it crashed. So if you're seeing this, I succeeded on my fourth take. If not, then I gave up, or I destroyed my computer, or something drastic like that. So anyway, let me get right to it, and hopefully I won't get cut off this time. So, three main things I want to talk about about Tristram Shandy. One is the author, Lawrence Sterne. Very interesting literary figure. Um, he was a huge literary celebrity in his day after he published Tristram Shandy. He was more or less like a rock star or a movie star, in the sense that that the most entertainment you could get for your buck back in the 18th century when Tristram Shandy was written was a novel, particularly one as inventive as Tristram Shandy is. And one of the things that made the book unique is that it had quite a few illustrations in it, which was not easy to do back then, but it's a key component of the book Tristram Shandy. But anyway, Sterne was, as a rock star or a movie star, he was very interested in celebrity culture. And in fact, he sort of impersonated his characters out in the world, out in society. So it would be, like a movie star, going, say, Christian Bale going to a cocktail party and pretending like he's Batman. So you know taking on his literary persona or his fictional persona as his real persona. Um, and so Stern was like that. I mean, he famously said that I write not to be fed, but to be famous, and he certainly achieved that. But as I said, he society he impersonated not Tristram Shandy, but Pastor Yorick, since Stern was an Anglican priest, and so was Pastor Yorick. So I mean, after Tristram Shandy made Stern famous and rich, he published a number of books, including a book of sermons and a book of letters that were supposedly authored by Yorick. So interesting to note that. Moving right along. Secondly, the film. I hope you didn't find it too bewildering. I like it a lot, but then I know a lot about films and I know a lot about the book and what the film is attempting to do in in the film adaptation. Um, like a lot of the works we're looking at in this class, Tristram Shandy, A Cock and Bull Story, Tristram Shandy, the book, is considered impossible to film. That's why the book came out in the 18th century, but no one's made it in a film adaptation before now. So again, like other works on our syllabus, Tristram Shandy is considered impossible to film, and that's really why it's on the syllabus, because it raises all sorts of interesting questions about how you translate certain aspects of a literary work into the visual medium like film. So. But the film is, I mean, part of its difficulty is it's a postmodern work, so it's self-referential. Like having Steve Coogan playing Steve Coogan. It's self-reflexive in that it reminds you about how fake films are by bringing you behind the scenes and making lots of jokes about it. So that's also what makes the film difficult. But it the the film makes a virtue of the difficulty of adapting Tristram Shandy. That's the main joke, is that it's impossible to film Tristram Shandy. So let's make a film about how impossible it is to film Tristram Shandy. So in that they certainly succeeded. So now let me just hurry up. I'm thinking if I keep this under 10 minutes, it won't crash on me. So I want to, for the rest of the time, talk about, we'll do a little show and tell in terms about books. I'm a cinephile. I love films. I'm also a bibliophile. I love books. And when I say that, I don't mean just reading them and the stories in them, but the actual construction of a book, the book as a material object. So let me say a few things about that in terms of show and tell. this is one edition of the work. This is the Penguin edition. It's a scholarly edition, the kind that you would say read in a college classroom, but also the kind that someone would use, like I did use it, to write an academic paper that I delivered at a conference a few years back. It has all of the what's called the critical apparatus and a scholarly introduction, extensive notes, what have you. For instance, this is a picture from an 18th century encyclopedia of basically an image of military fortification. This is in reference to Uncle Toby in the book, Uncle Toby's obsession with military fortifications, particularly the fortifications of the battle in which he was in, and in which he, how do we put this delicately, lost his ability to reproduce. So that, of course, is one of the jokes of the film, and the book and the film. And that Widow Wadman is very curious to know what's going on down there and whether Uncle Toby can produce children. So anyway, that's in there. There's also, again, what makes the book inventive is many of the visual illustrations. This is a representation of Corporal Trim basically moving his stick in the air. So that's a representation of a stick moving through the air. So obviously it's not something you would find in most books, and most people would think, well, it's ridiculous that you'd include that. But again, that's part of the joke. It looks similar to other images like this. These squiggles refer to, this is basically Stern's representation of the narrative structure of the first 4 volumes of Tristram Shandy, the first 4 of 9. So anyway, you can see none of those are straight lines. It's digressive. The book is famous for that. But again, the joke is that Stern included an image of sort of what that structure would look like. It's probably fairly accurate in terms of describing how the narrative follows along in each of those volumes. I'm sure people have written dissertations on that, but not me. But really, the gold standard, or what you look for in a book edition of Tristram Shandy, are 2 things: the black page and the marble page. So let me show you those. This is the famous black page, so it's a complete page. Good job on that score. The marble page here, that's really just a black and white picture of a marble page, not a real marble page. So this edition fails in that regard, compared to this is an old Liverwright hardback edition of Tristram Shandy. So I bought this a few years back because I wanted a hardback version, because I love books and I love hardback books and so on. But if you look at in this one, the black page, yeah, it's just a small image in it. So they fail the score. However, the marble page is marvelous. Sorry, I had to do that. This is the marble page, and the joke here is that this page, this sort of image or paper, would actually be in the front part here in the book. So the fact that Stern included it in the middle is a big part of the joke there. So this book is pretty good in that regard. As I said, the black page is kind of a failure, but the marble page they got down. We can compare that to this is the Modern Library hardback version, so that's why I bought it. But no black page, no marble page. It just doesn't cut it as a edition of Tristram Shandy. So anyway, I wanted to share those books with you, and I'm approaching the 10-minute mark. So I think I'm going to stop, and hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'll be talking about the books in other films that we see. But fingers crossed. Let's hope I can upload this.